Welcome, my friends. Thank you for joining. Let me see something here. There we go. So it's a pleasure to have you with us today. It's a wonderful day. And one of the cool topics for the day is that Mac or Apple released a couple of new devices. And as always, looking into the gear, how to make it easier for you, for me, to be able to leverage for live streaming, for coaching, for connecting, for creating content. So after going through all the material that I found online, I was asking myself a couple of questions. Hey, which one should I get if I'm gonna get one? And if I had that question that I can go into a device, and if you saw last week, I told you about what we did for my wife. So if you haven't seen that video, make sure that you look on our channel for creating a live stream, a studio on a budget. And I was able to, just like that, help her to get what she needed. I started thinking, okay, so they look very, very similar. Almost identical. And in a lot of sense, they are. But there are a couple of subtle differences. And I haven't been able to get my hands on it. I'm planning to get my hands on one of them probably later today. I was talking to the wife so we can go to the Apple store and actually see it. But there are a couple of things that I think that they're very important for our audience, people that are creating content, probably churches, people that are doing live streaming. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing a review of the specs so you understand what is the difference and why you need to buy it the way you think that you're going to use it now, even though you're not going to use it. And I'm going to tell you why. So let me flip my screen and make sure that it's switched. There you go. So the first thing that I want to share with you is that Apple changed the CPU. So I'm not going to go too deep into those details, but I want to show you something specifically that is a good thing, but also is a challenge the normal way that you used to buy a computer. It used to be that you can say, well, I want this type of CPU and I get some RAM or some memory, and later on I upgrade it. Or I could, let's say if it's on a desktop, you say, well, I will get a least expensive and later on I upgrade and I put a different graphic card. Well, with this new design of the Apple One is a chip that they combine everything inside the chip. From a good thing, what that means is that it makes all those components work faster. So memory, graphics, and CPU are all integrated. So that's what you see here on the screen. You see that they have everything inside. So that's a really good thing. That's why you see some people saying reviews about that it's very fast, very speedy, that you can do a lot of things because they build then different things that they were not before. Before, every component was separated and it wasted time connecting. But here's the problem. If you see the memory, DRAM, is integrated, what that means is that you cannot upgrade it. You cannot buy one and say, well, in 6 months, I will add the memory. Or in a year from now, I will add the memory. Because everything is built into the chip. Meaning that make it that you cannot upgrade it. Because they have it inside. It's not inside the computer. It's inside the chip, literally. They're soldered, so you cannot change it. So I want you to understand that change, that even though that make it a lot faster, your upgrades, you need to buy it now the way you're gonna need it, okay? So let's go into the model. So they released 3 models. They released the Air, the Pro, and the Mini. So I'm not gonna talk about price because depending where you go, or if you have an educational price, you may get a different thing. But I wanna discuss the different components because there was a big change in some of the things that are inside for connectivity. Specifically, connecting things like your mic, your uh, hard drives, if you have a mouse or stuff like that, some of those things change. Okay, so um, the Air and the MacBook Pro 13-inch are about the same price and weight. The difference is 0.2 or about 2 ounces difference. So there's not like a big difference. Space wise, they're exactly the same size. And you're gonna see it. I'm gonna scroll down here. So you're gonna see screen is the exact same size. There's no difference on the screen. They have the exact same. All of them share the same N1 chip. And I'm gonna go then a little bit later why then you should pick one versus the other one, okay? Memory. You can pick when you order it or 8 or 16. You cannot go any higher than that. So you need to know what you're gonna get from the get-go. And the storage, you're gonna have up to 2 terabytes. Again, all the components inside all these 3 devices are exactly the same. The CPU, the memory, and the hard drive are exactly the same. But here's the kicker. If you look, this one in the middle, you see that it says the MacBook Pro. If you're looking for battery life, your MacBook Pro gonna give you a better battery life. And you're gonna say, what? Yeah, because it has a larger battery. So all the internal components are exactly the same. But remember that I told you that the MacBook Pro 13, the new one, was a little bit heavier? Is because the space that they made so they can put a larger battery. And there's a secret that they have in there that they don't tell you in here. Looking through all the specs, the big difference between these two, so you see that they look very similar, is that the MacBook Pro has a little fan. And the fan, similar to the Mini, is because you're gonna be able to do more work on the Pro than in the Air. And the reason is because when the CPU get hot, that it can do more, it can overclock itself. So it will do more instructions and the fan will kick in to cool it down. Versus on the Air, it doesn't have that. It doesn't have any fan. It doesn't have anything else, so it's completely silent. So that may be a good thing for some things. So let's say if you're recording audio and that's it, probably the Air is your machine. Or the Mini, but then you need an external monitor on other components. But let me go down here to show you something. As I mentioned, you're gonna have the exact same CPU across all of them. But when I go down, my Pro has a better display. So the MacBook Pro has a brighter display. They have the same resolution. So the size on the screen is 2560 by 1600, but the brightness that you can see things brighter on the Pro, you're gonna get a better light so you can see it, those colors brighter. It's 100 nits. So you think that it's not a lot? If you're doing very intensive graphic design, or if you're doing information like video rendering, that make a huge difference. When I bought my previous MacBook Pro, that was one of the reasons why I got the screen that I got, because of the brightness. So when you get all that information and you're doing all the manipulation, it will look better. But here's where I want to go. As I mentioned, the weight is very similar, so 0.2 of a difference. There's no difference on the camera, but here is what I am considering the Pro. When I record, I have an external mic right in front of me. When I record on my Mac, the mics are not that good. But one of the things that they did right now is that they invested on having professional mics installed on the Pro. So you see here that it have studio quality mics built in into the laptop directly. What that means is that now when I work on the laptop to create a course, when I do a live, when I record a podcast, I don't need to have an external mic because these mics are professional grade. So I am considering that if I have to invest, I will invest on the Pro specifically because of that. That eliminates the need to have a mic right in front of me. That eliminates the need that when I have to travel somewhere else, I have to carry a mic with me. But then in addition to that, it also has dynamic range on the speakers, meaning your audio as it comes out, it's gonna be a richer experience for you. So when you're consuming, you're watching now the video, you're actually watching a movie, it will be more interesting because it will actually immerse you in there. You can go higher on the highs and lower on the lows, okay? But let me go. All of them has the Wi-Fi 6, but I wanted to show you something here that a lot of people may think, well, the previous MacBook had 4 ports. They cut that in half. Now it only has 2 ports. You see it here. 2 Thunderbolt USB 4. What that means is that you need to buy external hubs to connect your devices, because you need to get the Apple adapter so you can get it in. I'm like, I have the adapter that give you power, HDMI, and USB, but I have if you have a microphone, a keyboard, a mouse, and something else, right there you need 4. So you don't have enough ports to connect it. So you have to think about that when you're looking into these devices, because then that will make a new investment on different ports, okay? If you get the mini used to come with more USB-C ports. They cut it down also to 2. So you have 2 USB-Cs, but then you have 2 regular USBs. So like the regular big plug, like, so you can connect something like this. So they added this that was missing. So now you have 2, and then you can get then the regular 2. It has the regular Ethernet and an HDMI port so you can connect your monitors. So my friends, looking at this, they have great components. So the big question is, which one should I get? So let me go here. So here's what I'm looking at. If I have to get something for a desktop, I probably would prefer to invest a little bit more and get the Pro for all my use cases. Even though if you're gonna use it for a desktop and you're gonna connect devices, and here's the reason why. If I can move it and use it somewhere else, it make it better for me. So then I can connect it and I can create my videos, I can create content, I can record audio, and specifically because of those microphones that come built in, then it's gonna make a big difference into everything else that I'm doing. So there you have it, my friends. This is a quick overview of the new Mac lineup. I'm looking forward to get my hands on one of them so I can test it and see how speedy they're claiming that it is. But it looked like all the tests and everything. And here's something. Even though there is something called universal apps, and that's a little bit more technical, but meaning they have technology inside of them that they will make work all the current apps that you have on your Mac into the new one. But here's a caution. Make sure that your apps works in Catalina. If your apps don't work in Catalina and you have an older app, meaning let's say that you have Office 2010 and you haven't upgraded. If you have one of the older versions of Photoshop, you probably will get it working, but there's no guarantee. You want to make sure that your apps, you have the latest so you can upgrade, because if not, you may end up having problems. They say that they will work and they have tested several apps, but they only stay we tested the current version of Photoshop, and in their promotion they said, and next year we're gonna get the universal version, meaning that if you depend a lot on Photoshop or let's say Adobe Premiere, and those apps were not completely tested and you don't have the latest version, you may experience some problems. Okay, so make sure that you look at that, and I hope that this has been helpful. If you're watching this on the replay, let us know that you're watching this on the replay. And as always, if you have any questions, my friends, please let me know.